Yo, what's happening? It is Coach Christian here, and I'm coming at you with an upper body corrective exercise video today. So if you haven't seen previous video with the assessments, what we do is an overhead squat assessment to see and identify issues throughout the body. Today we're going to be working on the upper body. So with the overhead squat assessment, what we're looking for, trying to keep the toes forward, feet straight, feet about shoulder width apart, toes pointed forward, hands in line with your ears. So notice there's a straight line from my arms all the way down to my heels. What we're doing now is we're gonna squat down, come back up. That's how it should look. My shins and my arms should be like windshield wipers. If there's an extended line going on forever, they should never touch here, because there'll just be never an ending line, just continuing to extend out forward. Now, what happens with the upper body is we'll see things like the arms are falling forward. That's gonna tell me that we have an upper body issue. That's either gonna be shoulder, a lat, maybe a thoracic issue. So we're gonna go over some techniques to fix those, because those are probably areas that are giving you trouble during your workouts. And we're just gonna go over there, assess. We're gonna massage them out, we're gonna stretch them out, and have some activation techniques as well to help strengthen those muscles in the new lengthened position. So I'm gonna start off with a common area is going to be the lat. So with the lat here, we're gonna go ahead and get, I like to use one of the balls. So we have a lacrosse ball, or you can use like one of those softballs, those pitch softballs. Let me go ahead and fix the camera just a little bit so it makes it a little bit easier to see what I'm trying to do over here. All right, so what we're gonna do is actually put one of those in the inside back part of our armpit here, and that's gonna help release the lat, because our lats get tight, and that's why the arms are falling forward. This muscle's preventing it from coming up to the top here. So what we're gonna go ahead and do, I like to use the smaller ball for this one. So you get a baseball, lacrosse ball. We're gonna go ahead and dig this thing into the back of that armpit here. And we're gonna lay on it, find that tender area, and then just lay on it. Just kind of hang out in that area for at least 30 seconds. It's gonna be very, very tender. Go ahead and lay on there, minimum of 30 seconds. The more pressure you put on it, the faster it releases. But I kind of like to lay on it until that tenderness goes away. Minimum 30 seconds. Like I said, the more pressure you apply, the faster your brain will send a signal to that muscle to release. But this is one of the more painful areas, just so you know. But it's actually very important so that we can release that lat muscle. It actually attaches up into the shoulder and causes a lot of shoulder pain as well. So if your shoulders are bothering you, this is probably one of the first areas to check out. We do that on both sides. After we've released that lat, the next part we're gonna look at is going to be our thoracic spine. So our thoracic spine is gonna be the middle of the back. What we're gonna use for that is a foam roll. So when we're doing foam rolling, we're not making cookies. We're not rolling back and forth. The main thing I see people making mistakes with this is they're going back and forth, right? Back and forth, and that's all I see them doing. Actually, what we wanna do with this foam roll is we want to extend our arms up in this position and then crisscross them. That's gonna open up that middle of the back area here, and you're gonna immediately feel that tenderness. So you feel that tender spot, and we're gonna hang out there and just release that thoracic spine there. So release that muscle in the middle of your back. You're gonna feel that tenderness. Once again, we're holding that for about 30 seconds, keeping applying pressure on that point, and that's gonna help release that muscle. It's all about sending the signal to that muscle, and it's just that constant pressure, that massage that we're digging into there will send that signal. Once again, the harder you push down into that area, the faster that muscle will release. So now that we have our lat and we have our thoracic spine opened up here, let's go ahead and stretch those muscles. Now that they're released, we want to lengthen them. So the first thing, my favorite stretch to do for the lat would be a child's pose. So I'll go ahead and face the camera. Child's pose, we're just going to go ahead and sit deep into those heels with our hands out in front of us. Drop the chest down to the floor. And what we're gonna do is basically keeping that chest down to the floor, we're gonna walk our hands to the right. That's gonna give you a nice stretch in this lat on the left side, keeping the hips tilted back, keeping the chest down, and we're gonna go ahead and hold this stretch. I like to hold my stretches for a minute or 2 minutes. Really wanna get that length into that muscle, and sometimes it takes a little while. 30-second stretches are just not long enough. So holding this stretch for about a minute, 2 minutes. Once again, we're going to the left side, the right side. That's going to stretch the left lat, And if we pull our hands to the left side, that's gonna stretch out that right lat. We're really trying to lengthen out that muscle, loosening up the shoulder joint in this area. And now for the thoracic spine, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stay in this quadruped position here. So notice my knees are stacked right underneath my hips. Now I have my wrist, elbows, and shoulders stacked up as well. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our right arm, swoop it right underneath the left wrist, drop our right shoulder and our right ear to the ground. Now with our left arm, what we're gonna do is reach up toward the sky. We're not reaching back, we're reaching up. So trying to get your middle finger to tap the ceiling. We're just gonna reach up there and get a nice stretch in that thoracic spine. Right where we massaged out with that foam roll, we're gonna reach up. Once again, I like to hold these stretches for about a minute, 2 minutes. Really open up that area, try to get a bigger reach, lean it further back until we get straight up and down. So think about from my shoulder to my middle finger is gonna be nice and straight as we're reaching up for the ceiling. We're gonna go ahead and do that on both sides. So with the other side, what we would do is stack everything back up, left hand goes through that right wrist, drop the left ear and the left shoulder to the ground, and then you bring your right hand as high as you can. That's gonna be the stretches for your thoracic spine and for your lat. Now going into the shoulder joint, the axial shoulder joint, what we're gonna wanna do is a wall circle. So many muscles attach into that shoulder. We have our pec minor that attaches into there. We have our lat that attaches into there. We have shoulder, back, rotator cuff muscles that attach. We have our bicep attaches into it. So there's so many muscles because it's a ball and socket joint. Many muscles have to be have the right length and tension for that joint to stay in place. And if any one of those was out of place or too tight or too loose, it's gonna throw that shoulder joint out of place. So I like to do a wall circle here on the wall. To do this, we're gonna stay as close as we can to the wall. Immediately, if you start to feel numbness or sharp tingling going down the arm, I want you to step away from the wall. We wanna challenge ourselves and try to do it as close to the wall as we can. But if you feel any tingling, any sharp pain, anything like that, take a step away and try it again. So this is what we're gonna do. It's a wall circle. We're gonna keep the back of our wrist, our elbow, everything on the wall, trying to keep the shoulder on the wall as well. So what we're gonna do is keep in the back of the wrist, we're gonna make a half circle until your hand is straight above you, just like this, straight above you. And as you come back, when you get about to this point, I want you to come from the back of your wrist and I wanna flip onto your palm. What we're gonna do is flip onto our palm as we get into this area right here. Crawling those fingers back, trying to keep our body straight forward here. We don't want to rotate in. We don't want to extend through the spine. We want to keep everything nice and tight, straight forward. So once we get right here, what we're going to do is come from that palm and come back down to the back of the wrist. So you're going to flip your thumb down, and then we're going to come back down and finish that circle all the way down. And you're going to do the same exact thing going back the other way. So we're going to go ahead from the back of the wrist all the way right here. Once we get to this point right here, we flip onto the palm, thumb is pointed up. We're gonna come all the way back over here, flipping back to the back of the wrist as we come straight above our head and then back down. What I want you to do on this is actually hang out in those tender areas. You're gonna feel areas where it's kind of getting stuck. Now, I went through that circle very quickly, but what you want to do a lot of the time, as soon as we start to flip that palm right here, you're going to feel a nice stretch here in this bicep and then your pec minor right here. And as soon as you start to feel that stretch and it's kind of like a tough area, hang out there. Don't move. And if you start to feel tingling, take a step away from the wall. But we want to stay in those tough areas because those are the areas that are too tight and actually throwing that shoulder out of joint. So you kind of want to hang out there for a while and then slowly actually progress. Then flip the thumb. Another area you're probably going to have a hard time with is the bicep tendon gets tight. So when your arm is directly behind you and you flip that thumb down, that's another tough area that you're probably going to want to hang out in. And then bring your arm all the way back down, coming all the way back up. Flip the palm when you get right here, palm on the wall. This is a tough area. You might want to hang out here for a little bit. Then come back to the back of the wrist as you're coming straight up and then back down. That's gonna really release and open up that whole shoulder joint. Excellent exercise to relieve any kind of tension in the shoulder, any aches, any pains in the shoulder. Just doing that wall circle alone is good enough for most people, but I kind of want to make this video a little more comprehensive so that we can massage it out and get all those fixes. So if we have any kind of injury with the shoulder, that's probably what we're looking for. Back tightness, the thoracic spine, we need to do that as well. I have one more thing. So this is going to work on the wrists and the elbows. So we got the shoulder, we got a little bit of the back. Let's go ahead and work on the wrists and the elbows. So with this video, with this exercise, what I want us to do is, let me go ahead and bring this down a little bit. I kind of want to get this so you can see my hands. Perfect. Awesome. So for this exercise, we never strengthen our wrist. If you're doing push-ups or you're doing planks and you end up coming off and you're shaking your hand because your wrist is starting to hurt, it's because we haven't done prerequisite things to strengthen that wrist. This is an excellent exercise to strengthen the wrist. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep our hands, fingers spread apart as much as we can here. We're going to be in that stacked position, knee underneath the hips. We're going to have our wrist, elbows, shoulders all lined up. Now what I want us to do is spread those fingers apart, and I want the eye of the elbow forward. What I mean by that, eye of the elbow is like the armpit of your elbow. We want that like this the whole time. You're going to want to do this, but keep it locked out the whole time during this. So we're going to go ahead and lean forward as much as you can. I'll give you a side view. That's going to go ahead and give a little bit of a stretch in here, just kind of challenging that range of motion, making sure those elbows are locked out, keeping those fingers spread apart. In this position right here, we're gonna challenge that range of motion and then give pressure. We're gonna push down into the ground. Immediately, you should feel those wrists lighting up. The back of your wrist should be lighting up. Now we're gonna hold that for about 10 seconds and then relax. Coming back into that position. Now instead of pushing the fingers down, we're gonna pull the fingers up. You're not gonna be able to pull your fingers up. You're not gonna see me pulling my fingers up, but I'm trying to, and that's actually gonna get this part to light up right here. Your forearm and the front of the wrist right here. All of those muscles are gonna light up. That's really gonna help strengthen those wrist muscles, keeping the eye of the elbow forward, challenging that range of motion by leaning forward. Lift those fingers up as much as you can. Lift, 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 and relax. Now, you're probably gonna have to shake that hand out a little bit. It's gonna strengthen the front and the back of the wrist. Now we're gonna go ahead and do it on the other side. I'll do one wrist at a time. So we're gonna go ahead and get the eye of the elbow forward. Remember, kind of lock that elbow out. We don't wanna bend in. We wanna keep that locked out. Now with the back of our fingers spread apart as much as we can, we're gonna push the back of our fingers down into the ground here. Push, 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 push. Now, at this point, we're gonna go ahead and curl those fingers up. So make a fist, and that's gonna work this part, the inside of our wrist right here, as we're curling those fingers up. Just an advance warning, if you're not used to strengthening your wrist, you may feel a little cramping, and that's just because we don't use these muscles. It's gonna be a little bit tension, but you know what, we really gotta strengthen those muscles. So make that curl, and then relax. Bring it back down, push those fingers down. You should feel when you're pushing those fingers down, you should feel it in right here. Push, 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 push. And we're gonna go ahead and uncurl the fingers one more time. Curl the fingers, then you should feel it in the back of the wrist right here. Just like that, curling, making that fist, just like that. So, I'm gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. That should handle all of the muscles. That's actually gonna help the elbow as well. So that's working the wrist, we got the thoracic spine, and we got the shoulders. So that's gonna handle most of the upper body. I'll handle the neck in a separate video. Awesome job, team, keep it up.